The serpent said to the woman, "Did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said you must not eat it or touch it or you will die." "No, you will certainly not die," the serpent said to the woman. "In fact, God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The woman saw, before she ate the fruit, the woman saw that the tree was good for food and delightful to look at, and that it was desirable for obtaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her. And he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened. We commonly hear, Adam and Eve, they sinned. We fell short. The thing that's sticking out to me is that the woman saw before she ate the fruit that the fruit was good for obtaining wisdom. They already had the ability to reason. They were deceived, but they weren't dumb. And the woman saw that the tree was desirable to eat and that it was good for food before she ate the fruit. She knew what God said and recounted what God told them to the serpent. Did God really say, "Yeah, we may eat the fruit from the trees in the garden, but God said that you shouldn't eat the fruit in the middle of the garden or you will surely die"? They knew the truth. They weren't dumb. And the serpent said, "No, you will certainly not die. In fact, God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil." The funny thing is that they were already like God. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female." They were already created in the image of God. They were already like God. They had the ability to reason. They had knowledge. And a pastor, when I was in California, preached this message, and that's why I'm resharing it. And she said that God created us to have a rational mind, to reflect the image of God, morally created in righteousness and socially created for fellowship. We have the ability to reason. And she said, the pastor said, questions can cause us to be led astray. God said it, and because God said it, we should be trembling because God said it. Reasoning is often what I see our generation doing. We use our reason. And the enemy's tactics have always been the same since the beginning. He's the deceiver. And deception he uses in the form of questions. Did God really say? And then we ask these questions. Why does God not heal people? Why is my family member still sick? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do I go through depression? Why am I battling against anxiety? We ask all these questions because we have this ability to reason, and that is how the enemy deceives us. The only thing that Adam and Eve didn't have knowledge of was evil. They were made in the image of God. That means they were already like God. And so that is why our questions are so important. The way we think is so important, because if we're not careful, we can be easily deceived. I've seen so many people in our generation fall away from God because of this thing up here. Because they doubt God and believe he's withholding things from them because of the way that they are thinking in their mind. And that is exactly how the enemy got Adam and Eve in the garden. They believed that God was withholding from them. But what I'm reading in the first chapter of Genesis is a dad who goes, "Look, I made these fruit trees for your food. I gave you all of this." And I get emotional when I think about it because I just see a dad who's like, "I gave you these birds and these trees and all of this for you." And they believed, because of their ability to reason, that the enemy attacked, that God was withholding from them. What do you believe God is withholding from you? Because I can surely tell you that you are being deceived. Because God does not withhold good things from those who love him. And that's biblical. Jesus said on this earth that we will have trouble. We know we will. And so if what God says doesn't change, and we know that on this earth we will have trouble, we will have evil, and he says, "But take heart, I've overcome the world," why do we doubt God? Why do we believe he's withholding from us? He already told us the truth. We're believing these lies of the enemy, like he did in the garden, that God is withholding from us and that all these bad things are happening and God's just looking back like he's a distant dictator God, and that's just not the truth. He already told us that these things will happen on this earth, but take heart, I've already overcome the world. So what do we do? What do we do with what we know? Trust in God that he is going to do it for those who love him, and that God is in charge of his recreation, Ephesians 2. And that's what the pastor preached on. We are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. He's in charge of his recreation. And the beauty is that since the beginning, we were created in the image of God. Because of Adam and Eve's sin in the garden, because they made a choice, our own image had been damaged and marred. But because Jesus is in charge of his recreation, he predestined those he foreknew to be conformed to the image of the Son. So the image that we had originally in the garden, the original design that had been damaged, he is recreating so that we can be made in the image of his Son. This is good news. And so when we have trouble and these questions come, we can rebuke them and believe the truth that is in the word, that trouble will come, but take heart that Jesus has already overcome the world and God is redeeming everything to himself. And so that means we are being conformed to the image of the Son, and he is renewing everything so that we can have fellowship with him and be with him as his new creation. So why are we doubting God? Why do we let this mind and our ability to reason play tricks on us and believe that this beautiful, holy God is withholding from us when that's just not the truth? And I'm here to rebuke the lies of the enemy that has plagued our generation. God said so many things in his word that are the truth, and what God said doesn't change. And so if God says that he has overcome the world, you can best believe that he has overcome the world and that you will be a-okay. I can't answer all the questions. God's higher than I am. But my job isn't to answer the questions. It's to live off of what I already know God said. So don't get caught up in your reasoning that you don't see what God has already said. If God says that you can inherit a sound mind, you can have a sound mind. If God says he's going to do it for those who love him, he's going to do it. And so I just really want to talk to those people who are critical thinkers, the people who reason. And because of that reasoning, you can often fall into deception. Because our mind plays tricks on us. The enemy attacks our mind. He attacks our ability to reason. He wants us to doubt and to drown in anxiety, depression, sin, and unbelief. But I believe that I have a sound mind for the spirit of fear. And I'm here to share it to whoever. Because I'm really tired of the enemy, who is a liar, plaguing our generation, saying, did God really say? Yeah, he did.